Hello, it's Theo from Theo's Tech Tips, and in this video I'm going to show you how to build a progressive web app. Let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is to make a new code project, and we're going to make an index.html file. And this is going to be the main page of our PWA. So our PWA is just going to have a counter that shows the number of times the page was clicked. So we're just going to add some text, and we are going to add a paragraph with counter, and then we're going to make a span with an ID of counter, and we're going to set the value to 0, and then I'm going to say times. And now we're going to import our JavaScript file. And now we need to actually make that file, so we're going to go in here and make a new folder called JS and a new file called app.js. And this file is just going to have some really simple code to count the number of times the page was clicked. So we're just going to make a variable called counter, set that to 0, and then we're going to register an event listener on click, and then we're going to increment the counter, and we're going to get our counter and set the text to the counter. So now if we go and open our HTML file, and if we click the page, you can see the counter going up. So now that we have a basic HTML app, we need to turn this into a PWA. So the first thing we need to do is to create the manifest so that the browser knows that this is a PWA. So we're just going to make a new file in the root directory called manifest.json. And we're just going to set the name to my test PWA. And we're going to set the short name, which is the name that appears on like your home screen, for example. We're going to set that to test PWA. And we're going to set the start URL, which is the URL that the PWA is loaded from. I'm going to set that to / because this is later going to be on a web server. And now we're going to set the display to standalone. And this just means that it's going to be in its own window. So now we need to import our icons for our application. So we're just going to make a new folder called icons. And we're just going to put our icons in this folder. And now I just need to go icons. And this is going to be an array of objects. So we're just going to make our first object. And we're going to set the source to icons, icon 32 by 32.png. And we're going to set the type to image/png, which is the MIME type for PNG. And we're going to set the sizes to 32 by 32. So now we're just going to repeat this for the rest of our icons. So now that we've done that, we need to go back into index.html, and we need to add our manifest into the PWA. So to do this, we just need to go link rel manifest href manifest.json. And now we need to add our icons again in iOS format so that iOS can recognize the icons. And we're going to go link rel apple touch icon href icons and icon 32, and we're going to repeat this for all of our icons. And after we set our icons, we need to set the main color of our app. So to do that, we're just going to go meta name apple mobile web app status bar, and I'm going to set the content to a hex code of the color that we want. So I'm just going to set it to F7D F1E, and that's going to match my logo. And now we're going to do that again, but we're going to change the name to theme-color. So after we've done that, our application should be registered as a PWA. So the next thing we want to do is add our service worker to our PWA, which is basically just code that runs independently of the page, similarly to how a service worker works in a Chrome extension. So we're just going to go up to JavaScript, and we're going to make a new file called serviceworker.js. And we can do a number of things here, but for our app, we're just going to set up caching so that our app can be used offline. So the first thing we need to do is make an array of assets that we want to cache, and we're going to cache our root as well as our index and our main JavaScript file. So after we've done that, we need to set up the caching mechanism. So to do that, we just need to go self.addEventListener. This tells the service worker to register an event listener, to install, meaning that this code is going to run when the PWA is installed. And we're going to pass in our install event. And we're going to go install event.wait until caches.open my test PWA then, and I'm going to pass in cache, and then I'm going to type cache.add all assets. So after we've done that, we need to set up the mechanism to retrieve the files out of cache. So we're going to go self.addEventListener fetch, and we're going to pass in our fetch event, and we're going to type fetch event.respond with caches.match fetch event.request.then, and we're going to pass in our response, and we're going to return response or fetch event.request. And that's it. So now I need to go to our app.js file and register the service worker. So to do that, we're just going to check if service worker is in Navigator, and this checks if the browser supports service worker. And now we're just going to go window.addEventListener, load, function navigator.serviceworker.register.js serviceworker.js then console.log service worker registered, and then we're going to repeat that for catch, and we're also going to pass in our error, and that's it. So now that our app is complete, we need to set up a simple web server to host it, since PWAs rely on a web server to be able to install. So we're just going to make a public folder, and we're going to throw all of our code in here, and then I'm going to make a new file called server.js. And this is just going to be a really simple web server that's just going to host the assets of our website. So we're just going to go var express equals require express, var path equals require path, var app equals express, var port equals 8080, app.use, express.static, path.join, dir name, and public. And we're going to set up the get request for all of our pages so that they'll return index.html. So we're just going to go app.get asterisk, and we're going to pass in request and response. And we're going to go response.sendFile, path.join, dir name, public, and index.html. Now we're just going to go app.listen, pass in our ports, and go console.log server on port. And that's it. So now I'm just going to open up a terminal and type npm init, and I'm just going to say yes to all of the prompts, and we're going to go into our package.json, and we're just going to remove the test script and remove all this information down here. And now we're going to go down to the terminal and type npm install express, and then we're going to type npm start, and it's going to say server on 8080. So we're going to open up Google Chrome, and we're going to go to localhost 8080. And if you've done everything right, you should see a little install app button over here. So we're just going to click on install, and you can see that it added the PWA into the Chrome apps folder, and this is going to depend on what operating system you're on. So if you're on mobile, it's just going to add it to the home screen, but on Mac OS, it's just going to put it in the Chrome apps folder in your user applications and not your system applications. So now we can just go into our PWA and test it out. And you can see in the console that our service worker is registered. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'm Theo from Theo's Tech Tips, and I'll see you next time. Bye!